Okay, we are officially back on the record. I'm calling the next case that's scheduled for a hearing today for our felony prelim calendar. The next case we have on the calendar is the state of Georgia versus Manoah Smith. The defendant Smith is appearing live via Zoom at the Clayton County Jail. He will be represented by attorney Michael Edmonds. The state will be represented by ADA Cheryl Freeman. Mr. Smith has been charged with a charge of murder for warrant number 2023 CW 52127. There is a second charge for aggravated assault, warrant number 2023 CW 52128. There is a possession of firearm and or weapon doing a crime, warrant number 2023 CW 52129. That will conclude the pending charges against Mr. Smith. He had two other charges, theft by taking, that's going to be moved to our misdemeanor calendar for a later hearing date.
Correction, Judge. Those two were waived.
No, we're waived. Okay, sorry.
Yes.
There'll be a waiver for the two theft by taking charge that were separate counts for warrant number 2023 is CW 52090 and 52102 for the record. So those will be a waiver of the preliminary hearing. So we'll just be having a hearing on the remaining charges. State ready to call their first witness.
Yes, Your Honor. And just for the record, I've already forwarded that paperwork to Your Honor. It should be in your email. Okay. Sergeant RC, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear and affirm that the testimony about to provide in the matter of state of Georgia versus Manoah Smith will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do, yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. You can lower your hand. Please tell us your name and how you're employed.
I am Sergeant Joseph RC, and I work for the Lovejoy Police Department.
How long have you worked for the Lovejoy Police Department?
Approximately 4 years, ma'am.
Are you assigned to any particular division?
Yes, ma'am. I'm assigned to the Criminal Investigation Division.
Sergeant, as part of the Criminal Investigations Division, were you assigned a case involving Mr. Manoah Smith?
Yes, ma'am.
In this particular case, from the very beginning, how I guess everything came about on April 5th of 23, were officers dispatched to 1733 Fielding Way in Hampton, Georgia?
Yes, ma'am, they were.
Was that a residence or an apartment building? What was that?
Yes, ma'am, it's a townhome inside our jurisdiction.
When officers arrived at that location, what did those officers find?
They found a black male, unresponsive, on the ground, and apparently had been shot.
Is that Mr. Thomas Green?
Yes, ma'am.
How many gunshot wounds did Mr. Green have?
Initially, there was 2 visible gunshot wounds to his shoulder. I believe it was his left shoulder. And later on, after the autopsy, it was discovered that there was a 3rd shot in the abdomen as well.
Were there any witnesses that officers were able to locate at the scene of the incident?
No, ma'am. Not the day of the incident. No, ma'am.
Were there any surveillance videos or ring camera, anything like that to show what may have happened?
No, not of the incident, but there was video surveillance behind the location of the incident that was recovered by investigators.
Well, Sergeant, please tell us what you've been able to locate from your investigation.
Yes, ma'am. Well, we found a video of 2 individuals around the time of the incident leaving the area of the Southfield townhomes towards the Lovejoy High School area. And that surveillance video showed 2 individuals. We have already identified one of the subjects as Manoah Smith.
After you were able to, I guess, identify that individual as Manoah Smith, did you take steps to try to locate Mr. Smith?
Yes, ma'am. Well, we received an anonymous call, a tip on the alleged shooter of that incident by the name of Zebo. They didn't have a direct full name of the subject, but throughout investigation, we were about to find the address, which was on Pebble Ridge, of that individual through a case number of Clayton County, a previous incident. They also gave the street where he lived and a vehicle that he drove, but not a name. Through that incident report that we recovered from Clayton County, we were able to identify Manoah Smith as a person of interest. And when we got pictures of that individual, it's consistent with one of the subjects that was running away on the CCTV footage that we recovered from the school behind the incident location.
Excuse me. Were you able to speak to Mr. Smith, Sergeant?
Yes, ma'am. Doing a follow-up on that case, we had an interview with Detective Jethro Johnson of the Clayton County Police Department, and they advised us that they had an ongoing investigation with that subject at that house that we had identified, being Manoah Smith. During that interview that we had, they stated that there was a unrelated case about theft of firearms. They advised me that they would be doing a warrant for that subject and for the firearms in his home. So we coordinated, and the day of, which ended up being the 5th of May, I accompanied the Clayton County detectives to serve the warrant at the home of Manoah Smith on 11032 Pebble Ridge. Through that, serving that warrant, I was able to observe some clothes in Manoah Smith's bedroom that was consistent with the clothes worn by one of the two subjects that was running on that CCTV footage. I later got a warrant for that clothes and recovered it. It has since been sent to the GBI for processing, for testing. And in addition, once he was arrested, he wasn't arrested in his home. He was arrested in his father's home. I believe it was in Fairburn, by the U.S. Marshals. Once the U.S. Marshals arrested him, he was turned over to Clayton County, then transported to Clayton County Police Headquarters, where I was informed that he was there. I traveled to Clayton County, and I was able to sit down with Manoah Smith and interview him that day.
And Sergeant, and before we get to what Mr. Smith may or may not have stated, were you able to locate any firearms or the firearm that was used in this incident?
No, ma'am, I was not.
Did Mr. Smith agree to speak to you at the jail?
Not at the jail. Mr. Smith spoke with me at the Clayton County CID interview room.
Okay. Did he sign his waiver of Miranda?
Yes, ma'am. He was advised of his Miranda rights and he signed a waiver. Yes, ma'am.
What did Mr. Smith tell you that happened?
Well, we had a pretty lengthy discussion, but basically the first words that came out of his mouth is that he did indeed kill Mr. Green, but that it was self-defense. He gave me a full confession in regards to shooting Mr. Green.
When Mr. Green was located, did he have any weapons on him?
No, ma'am, he did not.
When you interviewed Mr. Smith and you stated that he claimed it was self-defense, did he state whether or not that he took any weapons off of Mr. Green?
Yes, ma'am, he did. He stated that Mr. Green had a big black gun and that after he had shot the victim dropped the firearm and they both scrambled for the gun. He grabbed the gun, and Manoah Smith stated that as the victim ran away from him, he unloaded on him the rest of the clip, kept shooting at him as he ran away without a gun.
I want to be clear. when Mr. Smith stated that he and the victim were struggling or fighting for the gun, had Mr. Green already been shot?
Per Manoa Smith's statement, yes, ma'am.
So as they struggled for the weapon, Mr. Smith is the one who, I guess, ended up with the gun?
Yes, ma'am. Per his statement, that's what he said, that he was able to pick up the victim's gun prior to the victim grabbing it. He also stated that his firearm had jammed after he shot the victim. And that's the reason why he couldn't continue to shoot. So he, when he saw that the victim dropped the firearm, he grabbed it, and as the victim ran away, he unloaded on him, were his words.
The first shot of the victim, Mr. Green, did Mr. Smith state that he used his own gun at that time?
He said initially that he made a movement while I was interviewing him, a step that he was pretty much hiding his gun behind his back as the victim approached. And as the victim approached, he moved forward with his gun, firing towards his head. He said he tried to hit him in the head several times. Apparently, he hit him in the shoulder, struck him in the shoulder with the shots, and that the victim was holding his eyes as if he was shot in the face, in the head. That he thought that he had shot him in the head, which he hadn't.
Was Mr. Smith able to tell you where these firearms are located now?
Mr. Smith stated that after the victim ran away and he shot at him, he ran towards inside the it's a field with a path that people use to cut from the Lovejoy High School area towards Southfield Townhomes. He said he ran in towards the direction of the Lovejoy High School, and that's where we obtained the video of the subjects, the two subjects that were running.
Did he indicate what he did with the firearms?
Yes, ma'am. He stated that he threw both firearms because he said they were hot towards the right, near the middle part of the path, in the wood line, that he threw him towards the right. We have since gone on 2 occasions to try to locate those firearms, and we couldn't find them.
Was Mr. Smith shot at all during this incident?
No, ma'am.
Did Mr. Smith indicate how he knew Mr. Green?
Mr. Smith stated that he did not know him, that he had never met him a day in his life.
And this incident happened outside in the street?
It was off the street. It was basically a few feet into the path, the walkthrough in the wood line from the end of Fielding Way, the cul-de-sac on Fielding Way, and the back parking lot of the Lovejoy High School and Lovejoy Middle School area.
Did Mr. Smith give any indication as to how he and Mr. Green came to, I guess, be in each other's presence?
Yes. Mr. Smith stated that he was with another subject, the subject that was seen with him on the CCTV video at the Valero gas station, which is on the intersection of Terra Boulevard and McDonough Road. He stated that they were there smoking marijuana, and that they walked from the back of the gas station towards the train tracks and traveled from the train tracks all the way to the intersection of right where the train tracks meet Lovejoy Road. And they exited, walked towards Terra Boulevard, crossing Terra Boulevard onto Lovejoy Road, from Lovejoy Road. And we were able also to find video at, I believe it was 16:19 hours, 4:19 p.m., which would be a few minutes before the homicide took place, crossing the same two individuals that were on the CCTV recording from the school were actually walking towards Southfield Townhomes on that date at 4:19. He said that that's the path that he took, and we were able to corroborate the path through the Walmart CCTV.
And all of this happened in Clayton County?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, it did.
I know you stated that Mr. Smith stated when the victim tried to run, he unloaded on him. Based on the report regarding the autopsy, the wounds that Mr. Green suffered, did he suffer them from the back? Like, based on what Mr. Smith stated, that the victim was running away?
From the autopsy and the initial video and pictures taken on scene, it appears that he was shot twice on his shoulder, at pretty close range. And then as he ran away, that third shot, which would have been the shot that killed him, was in the abdomen. So he was shot in the abdomen, it appears, as he ran away from Manoa.
Thank you. No further questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Attorney Edmonds, your witness.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning, Detective.
Good morning, sir.
So, 2 shots in the front shoulder and then 1 shot in the back later after he turned around his head.
Not in the back. It was in the abdomen area.
Abdomen.
On the side of the abdomen. Yes, sir.
Did you recover shell casings in the wood line?
Yes, we did.
Were there 2 different types of ammunition?
No, sir. They were all 9mm caliber.
All fired from the same weapon?
We can't determine that right now because we don't have the firearms to test them against.
But you didn't, there's no information that that did not happen, that there were 2 weapons used and that one of them belonged to the victim, Mr.
Well,
Green?
there's nothing to corroborate it either.
There were no weapons recovered at all, correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Do you know where Manoa was going as far as in that neighborhood? Did he have a residence in that townhome community?
No, he does not have a residence there.
Okay. Did he tell you why he was walking through that area with the other person that's yet to be identified?
Yes, he stated that he went through there to cut through to go to his house, which would be on Pebble Ridge, just off McDonough Road. Now, where he was, by his own admission, in the Valero gas station, if he just goes straight from Valero gas station onto McDonough Road, which would be the same road, it would take him directly to his house. But he decided to go through the train tracks onto Lovejoy Road and through Southfield.
Did Mr. Smith tell you that he had been confronted by some known gang members by that cut through?
He stated that when he went to Southfield Townhomes, that he spoke with an individual that asked him if he wanted to ride home, and that he said that he did not want to ride home, and then that he encountered some individuals at a green electrical box that were sitting there. He said that they were all wearing black hoodies, masks, and that he felt that they were going to rob him, were his words.
So he did tell you that there was a minor altercation with the men wearing hoodies, correct?
He said that there was an argument.
Right. Did Did you locate any of the, or did anybody that arrived on the scene speak with any of these alleged individuals?
Well, apparently when officers arrived on scene, they tried to make contact with several individuals that were still on the scene. Very few people wanted to speak to the police, as you can imagine. And we later knocked on several doors. We made the effort to try to speak with some of the individuals in that cul-de-sac and didn't get any answer from anybody.
Did Mr. Smith tell you that he was threatened by these individuals?
That he was what? I'm sorry?
Threatened or felt threatened by the argument that they had?
He said that he did feel threatened, that some of them were making some moves or gestures that appeared that they had firearms on them. He didn't mention that he saw any firearms. He said that they gestured, were clutching under their clothes type of thing, and that there was an individual that was on the phone. He did mention an individual that was on the phone and walked in and out of a house, and that he was yelling on the phone saying, "Get over here now," that type of thing.
Okay. Now, as far as Mr. Green, did you discover that he had driven to that location?
Yes, sir. He had driven.
He had a vehicle parked in a cul-de-sac or somewhere where you could park a car, correct?
Yes, sir. It was on the cul-de-sac. It was just a few feet away from where he was found deceased.
Did you search the vehicle?
There was a warrant taken and there was search of the vehicle done at Terra Record, our yard. Yes, sir.
Were there any weapons or ammunition in the vehicle?
There were no weapons or ammunition. They just found a almost empty bottle of liquor and a receipt to Terra package.
Okay, that was dated for that same day?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you know where Mr. Green lived or resided or where he came from?
Yes, sir. He actually came from the Sam's Club on Jonesboro Road where he worked. He actually worked that day and left his job around 2:45 on that day. We also tracked him down to go into Terra Package liquor store on his lunch break, and he bought that bottle of liquor that was almost empty on that day as well.
Was there a toxicology on his BAC after his death?
I'm not certain. I couldn't answer that right now.
What kind of liquor was purchased?
It was clear liquor. It was clear liquor bottle. I think it was rum. I'm not certain though, but I think it was rum.
Like a pint or a fifth, or
It was a large bottle, fairly large bottle.
Okay. Did you locate his phone at the scene?
We located one of his phones. One of the things that we're still investigating is that there is a phone missing and his Apple Watch is also missing.
How do you know that he had another phone and an Apple Watch?
The mother of the victim told us about it. Also, his sister had advised us of it.
That they knew that he had those items that day? when was
That he
shot?
had it. He had it, but we didn't find it on him.
Do you know how old he was?
He was 27.
27. Do they know why he was in that vicinity?
They do not. No, sir.
On the phone that you did find, was there a phone log that showed him communicating with anybody in that neighborhood?
Well, it was an iPhone, and it's very difficult to get into an iPhone if you don't have the passcode to it. We did a search warrant on the phone. We were able to get partial information from that phone, about 20% of what was actually on the phone. And but we weren't able to locate any call logs specific to that date. We were able to locate a location of him being at the location from the phone.
But we have no idea at this point why he would have been there.
No, sir, we don't.
And there's no evidence to this, nothing in your investigation shows that Manoah Smith and Mr. Green had any prior contact whatsoever up to that point?
No, not up to that point, personally, but we do have throughout investigation, we located, videos of Manoah Smith actually going into the subdivision, and sending texts to, other presumed gang members in regards to him being there, as of to say, here I am, I'm going through your neighborhood. What are you going to do about it?
Have you been able to identify who the other person was that was with Mr. Smith?
We have not, but we have a good idea who he is. We're still investigating that.
Do you suspect he's a juvenile?
No.
I don't think I have anything further, Judge.
Okay, any other witnesses, 88 Freeman?
No, Your Honor, the state rests.
Okay, Attorney Edmonds, any witnesses for the defense?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, we're ready for arguments. 88 Freeman,
The state waives opening.
okay.
And we'll submit on the testimony, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay, with that said, I do find sufficient probable cause to bind over all charges against defendant Manoah Smith. That will conclude the preliminary hearing for Mr. Smith today, and I want to thank both parties for their presentation of their case.
Thank you, Judge, and may Sergeant R.C. be excused.
Yes, as well as
Thank you,
Attorney
Sergeant.
Edmonds.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have a good day.
Thank you.